Looks like we're up and running. Maybe I'll just let people know I'm not one. There's so many little things to do, learning to stream and stuff. Okay, so we're going to start working on a new module. Like the last time we did something, we made an area for the arena, but now we're going to make a new module. I'm going to call it the Wolfpack. Actually, I have a couple maps. There will be a couple maps. This will be the outside encounter. It's going to be like an encounter where people are being ambushed. Pretty typical encounter. Nothing very Aran. Nothing very original, but just to get something up on the scoreboard type thing. And you'll notice here too, I have these trees here, stumps. I actually do have, this is why I haven't actually done it. There's like trees that go on top of it. Like you can see the shadows. And I want it so the trees will fade out when you go underneath them, or if you want to control it, you can turn them off. But I don't have that feature in right now. So that was actually why I didn't start on this one right away, and I went to adding just another arena. The second map will be an encounter in the caves. So the idea is that you find on the road that there's an ambush of wolves and wargs, and you track them back to their lair at the cave here, and then you'll go through this cave system. And towards the bottom here, there'll be some kind of boss encounter. I think I'm thinking it might be a lycanthrope, some kind of, I don't know, it could be a barbarian or something, but it's going to be some kind of humanoid that's going to be actually leading the pack. So this one, I guess the big difference is you're going to have more of a scripted encounter instead of just everything just appearing and you going through and killing stuff. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Maybe I will actually show how to find the editor in case you haven't installed it. If you go to your D20 dungeons in your library and you right click on it, you go to manages, you go browse local files. Of course, it pops up somewhere else. And that will take you to where it is installed on Steam. And what I actually did is I created a shortcut here to that just so I could get to it easier. But the tools, there's kind of two spots. Like the main game is in assets. If you look into assets, you'll start seeing more gaming like stuff, like modules. This will start looking familiar. Oh, I started creating old packs. We could probably delete that. These are the modules that come with the game: the arena, dungeons, roguelike, and the town's actually a module. So we're going to make a new module there. So this is what I would say is all the content for the game. You know, there's effects, I guess, is more of like a graphics. If someone's advanced, they would understand those are like shaders and stuff. But you don't actually really need those. The HTML, that's basically the SRD for, I'm sure we all know what rule system it is. That's all the documentation, the help files. You can see that in here. And if you haven't looked, you can see I have like the progress of how far I've been going. Where is that? So like, of course, it pops up somewhere else. So I'm kind of keeping a real time, well, not real time, keeping track of what is done so people can see what's missing and stuff. Like the greed's missing for appraisal. That shouldn't be too hard, but it's not a huge feature, I think, for people right now, so I haven't looked at it. So getting back to the main game, the tools, there's only one real tool. It's called Forge Edit. It's in Tools, Forge Edit. And again, I created a shortcut. But this is where you will run the editor from. I'll run it right here. This is kind of a debug a logging. I have multiple screens, so I slide it off to the side. That's not an important, it's kind of a warning. So I slide it over the other side, but if somebody only has one screen, I guess you can select it down here from the icon. This is just gives you messages. It'll be more apparent at some point. So we're gonna make a new module. And I cross my fingers to get no crashes because I was a touch late because I had a few crashes. Okay, so we're gonna create a new module. I'm gonna call it, I think this is the full name here, the Wolf Pack. And the code, this is like the old Dungeons and Dragons days, like you had like, trying to think, T1, that wasn't Tombs of Horror, was it? T2, I can't remember. So I'm going to call it QE1 for Quick Encounter 1. And what this is actually showing you is where it's going to create this stuff. And it's red because I haven't filled this in. And this one here, we're just going to say Wolf Pack. And you can see here what it's going to do. It's going to create all these assets and directories for us. So hopefully, yeah. And I would save relatively often. So now we have a module. Let's open another module just so if anyone hasn't seen lately, like the arena. You can see a module here. The arena has multiple areas. Let's just open an area so that we get a feel for what's going on here. We've probably seen this area here. So we're going to be building a map. An area has a map in it. I don't really call them maps. I call them areas that contain a map. We have our different levels here. Levels that are kind of like in Photoshop. It's basically order of drawing. Anything that's on the background. Well, let's just hide the background. See, all that stuff is on the background. That gets drawn for us. There's nothing on the ground, no objects. Creatures, we turn them on and off. The only one we're seeing now is the exit dungeon. It's actually kind of a creature. There's collision. We don't see any of the collision right now. But if we go down here, we could turn it on and off with visibility. You see all those lines show up. There's two kinds of collision, kind of. There's collision for the walls. That means you won't be able to walk through it. I'll hide that one. And line of sight collision, and they look identical. So line of sight is like, it's possible to have a wall that you can't walk through, but you could see through it, such as a window. And there'll be other like magical effects and whatnot. So let's shut that off. Flags. These are for generally just marking stuff on a map. Kind of like if you're on Google Maps and you throw a pin down, like a favorite location. So this is kind of what that is. So I could say, here's the name of it over here, the tag. I could say I want this one actually, what it'll do is the first creature that you choose to fight will appear there. So that's how flags are used. Okay, so that's all I'm going to really show about here because we want to get on to making our own module. So we are using the Wolfpack. Okay, so some of this is going to be rough because I didn't do it beforehand. I thought best get something done instead of pushing it off to another day. So let's see what we can do. So the first area is going to be the forest encounter. It's going to be this map. So I right clicked on there, create a new area. We're not concerned about the dimensions. They can be changed at any time. We'll call it forest encounter. And I'm not sure where the checks, but best not to use any spaces or funny characters like periods and stuff in it. Just try and use alphanumeric. I can't remember whether it checks or not. And we'll save. So double click on it to open it, and we see absolutely nothing. There's nothing in there yet. So what we need to do is bring our art in. And this was our art here that we're going to use, this forest encounter. So let's go back to our editor and we're going to import the tiles. I shouldn't say we're import tiles. We're going to import the map and we're going to have it cut into tiles. And I'm going to make the tiles bigger just because I don't want to arrange them as take as much time arranging them. So let's go find it. I believe it's on my desktop. Where are you? Come on. Forest encounter. I don't know why this is not redrawing here. I don't know if it shows up on yours or not. But normally I have mine set at like a 4K resolution. I think this 1080p resolution seems weird. It doesn't want to redraw that. So I'm going to expand this a little bit just to explain. You don't need to really know anything, but what this is saying, it's going to put it into Forest Encounter. This is the module that we're creating because it's our currently active module is the Wolfpack. Atlases, these are where all the images are going to be put. I'll show it, it'll be a little more obvious. And just so we don't dump all of them into one massive folder of like 60, 70 images you'll never find, it's going to put it in its own folder called Forest Encounter. So if you said OK, it's going to start dicing that up. So far so good. So actually now what it's doing is it's importing it. The first part was just cutting it up. Actually, you're getting some feedback here if you wanted to look. It's nothing interesting, but if there's a problem, there might be something useful here to print. So if we go looking back, remember how I said there's tools and there's basically the content for the game? If we look into our assets under modules and our Wolfpack module, we have what we call atlases. You getting an error? Yeah, that's the error I got too. I had to upload a new version. I wonder if you just don't have the latest. I'm using the editor one. I didn't really expect somebody to follow along with me, but if you want to try and update, or I can tell you what the problem is. You could create your own folder. That's not a good idea. What you could do is update your Steam using the editor beta. Let me show you that. The error is actually that a directory wasn't created. So if you go here under properties, there's betas. And the editor is the most up-to-date one because from time to time there'll be little bugs and whatnot, and I don't want to do a full release and bug people, so I'll put up an editor release. So if you are grabbing that, sometimes I find I have to log out, log back in. Let's see, the actual build number will end with 470. Yeah, sorry, Rand, that you got that error. Some of this stuff is hard because you go and create stuff and you don't get an error. Let me restart Steam. Good idea. You don't get an error because the directory already exists. Those are some of the harder areas to find. Okay, so let's look around while you're doing that. So what did it do? To restart Steam. So in the Forest Encounter, we'll see all those images. It cut them up into squares. And somebody asked me before, well, why bother you cutting them into squares? And the reason is the graphics card can only draw so big. A lot of them could probably draw the whole map, but smaller, lower end cards, I try and keep it at 1024. And it's also a bit of an optimization because when you're looking at part of the screen, you don't want to show every single tile, draw every tile. So this cut it all up for us. And now we have to start making. Did you manage to get restarted, Rand? Okay, well, I'm going to keep going. So we're going to create these little sprites or tokens on the background. So you create it. I wonder if I made a, let me look. The blueprints is pre-made stuff. Yeah, I didn't make one because it's such a small thing. I didn't bother. So under our area, I'm in the background. It's a little bit confusing, I find, because if you hit create entity here, it almost seems to imply that you're creating it on the collision, but you're not. You're creating it whatever's selected here. So it's not a big deal, actually. So like if we did effects, works now. Yeah, sorry about that. If you create entity here, see it's on the effects. You can just drag it onto the background. It's a bit clunky, but some things are just not worth cleaning up yet. So if we select that, I'm going to rename it. I like to do it because it's just easier to make sense of. Tile 0 _ 0. You might have to drag this over a little bit because there's a little create icon there. If you don't have it, you have to make this a little bit bigger. You will need a token. And for the token, you want to get a sprite. And we imported our sprites here under modules. QE1 wolf pack, our atlases, forest encounter. Here's all of them. So we'll start with 0, 0. And F for frame. So you can also, some of the controls are, they're similar to other pieces of software. Hit space, it deselects. Left click to select it again. And if you hold Alt, I believe it is, yeah, Alt and left click, you can pan around. If you use the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out. If you get lost, you can hit F to frame. And frame it doesn't zoom it into it, but it'll center it. I should probably have it so it actually zoomed it. So there's our first piece of road. And that is this tile down here. And it'll get easier. Control D to duplicate. You could just make the tile again if you want to. Slide it over. And there's a snap option. If this is not blue, you can just kind of put it wherever you want. See how it's not snapping? But if you have this on, it'll snap to the grid. And this is over to the right. So X is going to the right and Y is going up. So we're going to call this one number 1. X is 1. And let's look for 1, 0. That's the next piece. If we go back and look in our map, I should have actually given the map beforehand. I never thought. If someone wants to work along, you know what? I'm going to put the map in Discord. Are you on Discord? Oh, too many files. It's too big. Darn it. It's too bad I didn't upload it beforehand. I should have put it on. Should have put it on the website. I wonder how hard that would be. It's too much to do, I guess, right now. Sorry about that. I should have been more prepared. Now you can see our grid is not even close. I'm not worried about it right now. Let's duplicate this guy. Get the next one in. And this is going to be X is over 2. Let's change the token to 2, 0. We can change our grid by clicking on the grid. I forget how big it's going to get to, but let's go 40. We don't need it right now. It's really just for the gameplay. Control D to duplicate. Move that one over. Number 3. There's number 3. I think there's one more. Control D to duplicate. Zoom in, Alt, left click to pan it. And just drag over here. This one's going to be 4, 0. I like to make them 512 by 512 instead of 1024, but for this one it's fine. So this one made a short one because it's not exact multiple. So that's good. We got our bottom. I guess we could trim our grid to some level of OCD there that we have to trim that. What is it, about 36? Eyeball 35. These are 5-foot squares. Okay, so I made that a little smaller. So here's all our tiles. What we can do, we can select them by left click and dragging like that. Now we'll select all of them. Or we can select them here. You can hold shift down and add to the selection or subtract. So we're going to duplicate that whole row. Control D. And we'll slide it up. Getting hard to see here. There we go. Let's start with this guy. Space to deselect, left select. So now we're going up. So the Y is going to be 1. And 0, 1. See, that's the next piece up there. So this should go a little faster. I'm just going to try and rip through it. Basically, all the second numbers should become 1 now. Was that 1, 1? Yeah. 2, 1 probably, yeah. 3, 1. You don't have to change the tags, the names on these, but like, I didn't change it on that one, did I? 0, 1, I did. 0, oh yeah, that's right, correct. It's just, it's probably easier later if you have to go look at something. Second row. So again, let's just select that whole row. Control D to duplicate. Slide it up, let it snap into place. I don't know if this is a full row or not, we'll see. Space to deselect. Let's select this guy again, and this is going to be row 2. 0, everything's 0 based. 0 is the first row. 0, 2. Oh, it looks like there's going to be other rows. 2. 1, 2. Left click and holding Alt. Left click holding Alt there. I think it's going to look really cool when I get the trees on there. I'm going to show you actually. Let's save it here. The editor is pretty good, but like, it's wise to save. Let's just up this to make it look a little better. And let's grab this whole row. Did I name them right? 0, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Again, it doesn't really matter. So let's select that last row. Control D to duplicate. Slide it in place. And let's do this guy. 0, 3. Yeah, it's not a full one. 1, 3. Now I could make a script for this or a tool for this, but honestly, you don't do it, enough for me to stop what I'm doing. I'd rather have some game features get done instead of spending the time on it. I got running into the game. It's shocking actually how useful running is. Not even just running away, but just getting around the map. 4, 3. And you can crawl. Okay, let's just trim this. 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So if you select the map grid and the size, make it smaller. What was it, like 26? Yeah, there we go. Let's save it. I did fix, we had a bug previously, like you can change the line size here. Like you can make it 2. Basically the bug was when you had 0 line size, it was not happy about it. You can change the color here. You can make it slightly transparent. I usually dial it in. I'm trying to think if I use like a gray. It should be consistent for all maps, really. Depends on how you like it. That looks pretty good. So now I would lock it. If you go over here, look in the left in layers, and this is all basically a mirror of like Photoshop's layers here. If anyone, this is old Photoshop too, but I bought this sucker, so I'm keeping it. This is like 5.0. Yeah, I would lock it. And when you click that little lock there, now I can't select it. Left click, select it. You can select, I think you can select it here. Well, maybe not. Yeah, you can. But you can't, I'm not sure if you can move it though. Yeah, I don't think you can drag it. So that basically allows us now, I'm going to save it, to work with other stuff like objects. So there's no real, I guess I could put some collision in this one, but I'm not going to put collision in this one right now. What should we try to do? Let's look at the Lua files. There we're here. Yeah, if I go to the assets and the module, I guess you could do a shortcut to the module you're working on. The main module Lua. Let's see what's in here. Yeah, it generates some stuff for you. I've actually changed how this is done a bit, but this is fine. Okay. Let me look how I've done it, because I started doing this already. So the current version I have, let's look. Assets, modules, Wolfpack. Actually, let's just run the game first. You can run the game in here. Let's do that. Choose a new game. Let's just see Bear. I like Bear. Let's just see if it shows up. Right click, Adventures. The Wolfpack. Hooray. Something works. So 1 or 2 paragraph description. This is really hard to see on this screen. There we go. So this description here, this gets set in, sorry, I'm probably jumping around on you guys. So if we go back to our modules, the Wolfpack, under HTML, there's a module description. Double click on that, it appears on the monitor no one can see. So this is the file, and you can just edit it. It's basic HTML. So you would probably put something more interesting here. This, my spelling is going to really show here. This is a simple campaign, and you probably wouldn't tell everyone this. This is a simple campaign where the party has to defeat an unknown enemy. I'll leave that just to show you that this actually updates that. So if we go back to roguelike, yeah, see my typing's terrible. Let's go back to fix that. So the good thing about this is you can put in your HTML here. You don't have to reload the whole game. So this is the text that is the text that people will see when they're looking at if they want to play your module. I imagine if we just hit play, it's probably going to crash. Or is it going to do? Yeah, it's going to crash. That's expected. You can't. You have to have some kind of guts in there. So to start, you need. Let's see what I've done on the previous one. I have a new game mode. Same. So basically what happens here is this is a Lua script, and when somebody starts a new game, it's going to run on start. This is where you create a screen. So let's see what I did with this one I've already done. Options mode, hold on. Module. Let's see what I've added. Yeah, I made a forced encounter mode previously. Yeah, it's probably going to be too much too complicated to show. Yeah, I should have gone ahead and done a script for this ahead of time. Let me just think here. Area forest encounter. Okay, I know what we could do. Okay, so I'm not going to make a new mode. What we will try and do is we'll try and test the game. Just you can test games out, areas out standalone. Let me just look what I need. So I'm going to go to the arena and see what I need to test the game. If I recall, I just need to make flags PC spawn 1, I believe. Okay. So if we go to our wolf pack, I want to test this encounter out, or just test the map out. We're going to need a flag. And I generally make flags on Game Master 0. You can rename this. I had a problem last time. Just the way you rename is you click, left click, and then a slow left click again. You don't have to rename it that. It just doesn't matter. These ones, only stuff on map layer, background, all the way down to effects will show up. Anything underneath there will not be rendered. It will not show. So these collision and line of sight, you shouldn't put anything on there but those lines. And did I not save the map grid the right size? That's weird. 30, what was it, 36, I think it? 35 by 36. Can't be right. 26. Yeah. Maybe I didn't save it after that. Yeah, so you should only have the lines in there for collision. Anything else out here, it doesn't matter so much. So I tend to put all the flags on here. So there's actually blueprints for pre-made spawn flags, I believe. Yeah, right there. So if I just double click, it's going to create one. Let's go back to my area. And I'm going to drag it that we're going to start people here. And I believe it has to be called PC spawn 1. Let's just save that and see how that goes. And the 2 swords here to start it. Wow. Hooray. That just worked. Good. Then we're going to be able to show some trigger stuff. So the interesting thing here is if you turn lighting on, Bear has dark vision. He can see. But if we go to the next one, there's no light. So I need an option. This is another reason why I need an option to do daylight. There's a way I could fake it, I guess. Why don't we do that just for a joke? Shut lighting off. That you could throw some lights down. So I'm going to throw lights. I'm going to call this the light layer. And set it active. And if you go to blueprints, there's some lights here somewhere. Point light. There we go. So we can throw one around here to light this area. If we go over here, don't worry about the second number. This is the color. The color is fine. We can make it a crazy big light. So let's make it like a 100. So this is going to be a big light. Control D to duplicate it, and we'll throw one up. Whoops. Where's my area? So, and we'll move. Why is that not moving? There we go. That's weird. Did I get both of them? I got both of them, didn't I? There we go. Let's throw this one up here. Somewhere up here. Where was this guy? This guy's down there. Well, let's just do that for now, just to show you that you're not going to see this little light symbol in the game. Let's go. Who's this? So he doesn't have dark vision. Can we see? I'll turn lighting back on. How much vision does? I guess the 100 is showing a lot. It's weird. Why aren't we seeing all the map? Shut the lighting off. That's weird. Okay, you can't select those. Sorry, I'm just going to do a bit of debugging here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1. They did jump around a bit, eh? That's strange. Why can't I? Oh, I can't select them because they're unselectable. Duh. That's weird. Why is the grid's changing? Obviously some problems there. I just turned lighting on. Huh. Let's do a run. I don't know why I'm not seeing way over there. Oh, because the grid. Why is the grid not saving? I guess these are all questions that I'm supposed to know. Why is that not doing that? It's like that's not updating. I wonder if that's a bug. Let's try and run it again just for fun. Yeah, there's something going on there. Like, so the grid does matter ultimately, but darn. Okay, it's not super important. I want to show the trigger. That's what I want to show. So let's do the trigger. So what I want it to be is, let's say we're going to have it when people get close to the camp, we're going to have the wolves appear. Let's see how much we can get done on that. Okay, so let's put, we're going to call this the triggers layer. And we're going to create a trigger. So we create an entity. Now you see the light layer was selected, so that's why it's there. I have to make that a little more obvious if that's going to be what's happening. Like, you should be able to, I don't know, I guess maybe if it's right clicks on there, it should just make it there. At any rate, we go over here to our entity. Let's call it something somewhat intelligent. Let's call it fire trigger, or camp fire trigger. Fire trigger is good because it's easy to spell. So we're going to go with fire trigger. And to make a trigger, you have to have a body. So I'm going to add a component here. And a body is anything that actually could take space in the game. And if we make it 1 by 1, it's a 1 by 1 square. So let's make it something bigger, like 5 by 5 maybe. Let's make it a bit bigger. 8 by 8. And we can drag it around. When I drag these triggers around, I generally shut this off, the toggle stack, because it's going to move strange if you don't. So this is going to be a trigger that when anybody in the party walks into it, something's going to happen. So trigger, first we have a body. So this means is that anyone walks in there, and we need a component called a trigger box. There's other ones, like one that will trigger if it's in audible range, another one that will follow the person. But the trigger box is one that is just static and sits there. Let's save this. So now we need a script for that to do something. So if we go back to our assets, into our module we're creating, the Wolfpack, let's do our area. Oh no, it's in Lua. Lua areas. So this Lua file is for our area that we have right here. And actually the way you can look at that, you go to forced encounter. I knew it was going to do that. Let's save this all. Close. Seems to be a bug that once you play the level, you can't select the area. Just found that one today. Yeah. So if you left click on this is the area, you can see this is the script that it's going to use to run this area. And this is actually the name of the Lua table. So if you go back to our script, this should match that. Yeah. The reason is they all have to have kind of their unique names so that people don't use the same names and cause problems. So this is for test play. As we saw before, it just will spawn the party right there. But let's make a script for the trigger. And I'm just going to, it's not an area, it's an entity. So we're going to inherit from an entity, and we're going to use the naming of our dungeon or our map. We can make it this long. We're going to call it, what do we call it? Camp trigger? Fire trigger. Where's the trigger? Fire trigger. Fire trigger. Doesn't really matter what we call this here. We can call it the trigger. Okay. So let me look up what it's going to use. I always have to look up, I'm looking up the grease spell, because the grease spell uses the trigger. This is the grease spell actually. And this is just an easy way for me to copy paste what the trigger does. So let me cut out the trim. It looks complicated, but none of this needs to be complicated. I'll tell you guys what it does. So basically, when somebody walks into the trigger, it's going to be the entity, and DPF is debug printf. And DPF will show up in here, in this thing here, in our log. So what I expect is when somebody walks into the trigger, it's going to print this message, and it's going to tell the name of the entity that walked in there. So if it's my favorite character, Bear, hopefully it'll say Bear has entered it. And when it's left the volume, not when it's moved within it, when it's actually left it, it'll fire this one off. So we're going to copy this because this is I guess if you want, it's a Lua table, but it's kind of like the script that we made. And we have to tell the trigger that that is your table. And that should be enough. So if we run it, oh, somebody might appear right in it. Let's move it a bit. That's a little too close, isn't it? Let's move it up there. Save. And now if we run it, I don't know why the guy's not appearing the first time there. Missing trigger. Well, the little star, apparently it only works if you save it. It's funny like that. Let's try and run it again. There, no more. Uh-oh, what was that? Is that a new one or is that from the previous one? Let's see what happens. Okay, it's not complaining. Shut the lighting off for now. Okay. Good. Okay, it's running. Again, I don't know why it's not showing up the first time there, but this is just for like testing levels. So the trigger box is somewhere around here, so let's just remove. Actually, I want to show you. No good way actually to show the screen. Keep it on the screen, because what I would do is I keep it on my other screen. Thinking about actually putting like a log window under there. I just hate using the real estate. Well, we'll look back at this. We're gonna see. Watch. When. And if we go look, maybe she didn't walk into it. Probably didn't go far enough. Let's see if Sim can go right at the campsite. Then we know for sure. Come on. There we go. Trigger on enter volume Simkin. So if we look at our script, the trigger on enter volume and the guy who walked into it, Simkin. So not too exciting. So what we're gonna do is, because I'm not gonna be able to run the whole encounter, what I'm gonna do is have it pop up a dialogue with some story. Not the best story in the world, but some kind of story. So let's first get some kind of a story. So if we go to our HTML, let's just make another file. I'm going to copy this one and we'll call it campfire story. That's lame, but that's what we're going to call it. So we can have it say whatever. It looks like there was a battle here. Let's see if we can track the baddies. It doesn't need a heading. We'll put a heading in there. Let's make it a big heading. Heading 1 for a joke. The fire scene. Okay, so now we have to remember where we made this. Whenever you're accessing files in a script, it's always going to be from assets. So if I want to load anything, the first directory is going to come from assets. So it's going to be modules, Wolfpack, HTML. I'm going to copy it here, but we only need this part. Okay, I'll show you. Where is our forest encounter? Okay. Don't hit save here. Like you can, but it'll reload the file. And any errors you have, it'll start spamming the errors, and that's guaranteed error. So what was the full name? We're going to call it this. Come on, you. So that's going to be the file. So we want to display this. Let's see if we can get that displayed. And the way you display that is I made a new story. A new story box pop up. Right here. Look at all these folders. Got to close somebody. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so I'm looking at my own source stuff here. Sorry, bear with me. What do we want? UI, that's right. We want story dialogue. Now this stuff, this Lua code is actually in the game, but it's compiled, so you can't just click it and look at it. That's why I'm opening it like this. So for the forest encounter, if we want to use this pop-up, I believe it's called story dialogue. Yeah, it's a story dialogue here. I hate how the way that does that. I guess I don't need this because it's not going to be for an arena. So for the story dialogue, we want to show one. Let me just look at this. So we're going to create a new one. This is all Lua code. The UI. This is just like a debug name, just like the tags. We could just say it's amp dialog. It's not really important. It's more for debugging than anything. What's the flags I want? Give me a second here. Game. Yeah, it's going to be very similar to this. It's pretty much going to be that. Any luck? So these are flags. It says I want it to center. So dialog is going to be in the center. Load URL. You can't load anything outside of the local file system. So URL is a little bit of a misnomer, but there. With any luck, this should create a new dialog and show the HTML file that we just wrote. And show modal means that it'll pause the game until the player has dismissed it. All right, I shut the editor down, I guess, did I? Okay. Okay, we're gonna open the wolf pack. It's interesting how that grid's not saving. I should make a note of that. It's weird. First time I've seen that. Did the trigger save? Yeah, it's there. Okay. All right. So let's just try and play it. Well, maybe not play it, but let's see if we can get it to. Aha! Success. Unfortunately, this is really not the best monitor. It's kind of small like that. That's why it's blurry. So there's our little message. Let me close it. So I think what I will be doing with this is I probably will have a message somewhat like that popping up. And I don't know, maybe I'll start a timer or something after that and then spawn some wolves. Spawn some wolves or some wargs maybe further out here to give the players a chance to do some range combat or something. And when we've dealt with that, there'll be a final dialogue that'll say, "Do you wish to track them?" or something like that. There's more that can actually be done with that with that trigger. I don't think I'm gonna have a time for it tonight, but you could do something like, because I know there was somebody asking about how to add bonuses to if you were standing on top of something. So this one's a bit bigger. Now this one's small. So like maybe on the next time I'll add something. This is an effect. This is what total defense looks like. So we could make a trigger that will create an effect for total defense, but you could make it your own bonus. You could say, I don't know, maybe even you could say if you're around the campfire, you get a +5 bonus or something. +5, that's pretty crazy. And this part isn't as important. But here, basically, when somebody queries the armor class, they're getting a bonus, a +4 to their dodge bonus. So you could do other things like you could give your a bonus. Like there's different bonus types. I'm gonna look at that a little bit now while we're here. Where's my docs? I have to publish these docs. But if we look at bonus types, there's the different bonus types. If that was a dodge bonus type, certain ones stack and certain ones don't. If you know the rule set, you understand how that works. So basically, that's a lot of how the game works. If you look at this, this is called a message handler. So when someone's trying to query the armor class, they say, is it us? Are we talking about ourselves? Yes, then give ourselves a bonus. And there's lots of queries. Where are they? Where's the messages? Yeah, there's lots of messages here. So like, if you can get a query ability score. So like, you could add a bonus to your ability score using a special effect. I wish the docs didn't jump around like that. So armor class, attack. So if you're attacking, you can give yourself a bonus. You can give yourself bonus during attack opportunity. This can perceive as I forget exactly what that one is, to be honest with you. Query hit points. That one is like the virtue. When you have that virtue spell, can you create folders and layers? Yeah, you kind of can. Let me do that for you, Rand. The question is, can you create folders? So let's create some collision here. Let's do some collision while we're at it. So we're going to do some collision. Let's do it on the rock. And we won't do line of sight. We'll do collision. That's actually a good example. So we're going to click on the tool and left click to start drawing collision. I wouldn't go too crazy. You won't really notice a difference. Unfortunately, the tool, I want to have something that'll snap to the end, because if you have a bit of a gap, well, actually for the move it probably wouldn't matter, but for the lighting, if you've seen other software, you'll get like a hole in it. So for now, I just crisscross it. Hit escape to stop. So we have a line strip there, and maybe we want to call it like rocks is probably what you're thinking. Well, for this case, rocks would work. What you would do is you would trade an entity, and you could just call that entity the rocks. I believe you could drag and drop this on that. Yes. Now this will work as folders. There is a bit of a performance issue with it. It's not major, but like I'd be lying if there wasn't, because technically it does have to go through that entity, but I don't know if I've actually tried it with walls. Let's try this before I start saying you can do it. I've done it before, but I'm not sure I've done it with collision. Let's just double check. See if the collision works. Yeah, it's not looking like that's working, eh? Let's just see if that's the reason, though. Let's move this up. Okay, let's try this now. I'm going to save it. Yeah. Not, you can't for the collisions. Darn. I'll add that. I want actual folders too, but like the thing is, it will work for something like this. Let me delete that guy. Because my list's getting long here. Where'd my layers go? Oh, am I still running? I'm still running the game, that's why. So you could do it for the background. I'm going to create one here, and oh, it's locked. Didn't create an entity because it's locked. So you could say, what's the name? Row 0. And I could put all row 0 in there, right? Just that tidies that up. I guess let's make another one just for fun. Row 1. Close that down. So you can see how you could clean that up. I'm pretty sure I've done this on like the big dungeon maps. I believe I did this. Because yeah, I hate the lack of folders too. I'm gonna I'll make that a bit of a priority to put proper folders in. But at minimum, I'll make it so the collision works. It probably is just not looking for children. So if you save that, well, you can still see the map, so that does work. I guess you could probably, the interesting thing is you could make that invisible too, right? And the children are gone. So yeah, that's disappointing that I'll make a note of that. I'll just go back and watch the video, but yeah, I'll add that you can do this technique. I used to have it too that you could change the light to the icon too, so I should put that back in. Let's make that visible again. Yeah, I think that's most of what I'm going to be able to get done today. I probably should have made a script, but I wanted to get something out before I'd rather have something out than not have anything. But I'm going to keep working on this map. I didn't show you. This is the trees that'll go on top of it. See, I want to make it, where is it? Like that. But that layer will be, depending on when you get close to it or you're underneath it or just you could hide it on your own, they'll become transparent, right? So that's one reason why I kind of stopped working on this and went to the arenas first. Actually, then it's not positioned exactly right. It's over there. So, I don't. Do you have any other questions there, Rand? Before I call it a day, I'm gonna put some documentation of this also on the wiki. If you haven't seen the wiki, there is a wiki. Where are we here? That's probably, where is it? Should have that posted. D20 Dungeons. It's probably just wiki. Yeah. So I'm gonna put more stuff up here, like this here explains the layers panel. So some of the other stuff I'll make, like one just for triggers and stuff. Yeah, Rand's saying it'd be better to have individual trees. I agree 100%. I was going to try and hack it up and just make the whole layer go, but you're absolutely right. What there'll be entities that if you go under them, I'm thinking they'll just, if any character goes under them or maybe within range, they'll just fade to transparency. That seems like a good idea, eh? Yeah, that'll really add to it. I don't know why this grid's not saving. That's a new bug. Let me just try and save that. I'm curious. If I save it, close it, reopen it again. Yeah, it's a new bug. Oh, sorry, I'll have to fix that. Yeah. So the thing here too, also when we play, if you play this, you can see how you can see through it because there's only collision. So if I actually go to that collision and Control D to duplicate it, I'm going to put it on the line of sight layer. So I have a copy of the same one. Like if I hide the collision, why is it not showing on the line of sight? Oh, did I drag it away somehow? Oh, I think I know why, because it was parented. And let me move it. Come on, you. Just move it over there. I think it jumped there because it was parented before. Something weird there. But like now if we save it and you play it, it should block lighting. Should anyhow. Oh, because lighting's not on. There we go. Yeah. So that blocks line of sight, which you wouldn't want on the rock, right? It looks weird. Maybe I'll just explain this a little bit. So like during the editor, you can turn the lighting off and on when you're running in the editor. This one here is telling, this is game mechanics. It's telling how bright the square is. When it's blue like this, it means it's full bright. You can see these are partial. This one here is considered black. The other ones are like dimly lit, I think. And everything is in squares because that's how the game system works. There's no point of doing it like per pixel type of stuff. It's like either you're in the square or you're not. This one here, when I clicked on, this is not a good level for it because the lights are so bright. This is for when you have like dark vision. Actually, we could tone those lights down. I'll show you how that would work. So if we make those lights more like 10-foot square or 10-foot radius point lights. So, and now if we run the game, turn the lights back on. Oh, it's got really dim, didn't it? Like I'm lost dim. It should show more than that. I would have thought. You know, it's like something's not saving right. Let me go back and see if that one changed. Yeah, it's changed. Did I not save it? Run. That looks like, oh, Bear's got improvision or dark vision. That's why. So there, you can see the lighting. Yeah, Bear has dark vision. That's another thing I want. I need to have something that shows the character has dark vision, that I don't have to like figure it out. So this shows how bright stuff is. So the torch must be there. This is fully lit. This is, I think, dimly lit, and that's, I'm not sure why that's not matching up. Oh, because she has low light vision. That's why. Yeah, I was a little concerned there. So this is, if they have low light vision, everything's doubled. So this is considered fully lit for her, and the other areas are considered dimly lit. And the engine uses that right now for perception and stuff. Or even like, so somebody goes running by, there's actually a perception check happens to see whether or not they can see that character. This stuff here, this is garbage collection for Lua. I would leave that on, or eventually it will crash. It's more of a debug thing for me. That one's probably not going to be useful. Should probably take that one off. This one's for triggers. So why can't we see our trigger right now? That's actually interesting. Oh, because triggers are off. That's why I couldn't see it. I don't know my own editor. So this is whether you want to show triggers or not. Like right now we have the triggers on this layer. You can hide the triggers, like saying hide everything. But maybe we don't want to look at triggers as a normal part of it, so you can shut them off. This is also for coordinates. That should probably be bigger numbers for debugging. This is whether or not you want to see the grid or not. The grid that's not working as well as I would like. Yeah, those are the main parts of the editor right now. Yeah, this stuff is for more AI stuff. Yeah, so I think that's going to be it. I want to do another one of these, and I'll make sure I do more of a script. But at least this gives us an idea of what's going to be coming in the game. I'd like to get this like a campaign for here. We'll just make people with dark vision have a personal light source. They actually do have that. That is exactly how dark vision works. Good point. I wonder, I should just color it, eh? Because you're right. That's exactly how dark vision works. Let's just look that up for fun. What is it? Under Lua, that would be it's not an effect. It's a class ability. It's a racial ability, probably. Races. And let me just move this over here. It's easier for me to see. This is the uncompiled stuff. The source. So abilities. Dark vision's probably, is it just special? It's probably there. So yeah, this is actually, there's the 60 feet. Oh, you know what? I made a blueprint for it. Let's look. Yeah, there it is right there. We could throw a color on it. Let's just for fun see if that works. So let's edit this. Let's put a bit of a red to it. Let's go a little crazy. Pink, that's a little too. Just to give it a tinge of something, eh? Let's see if that works. Where's Bear? No, wait, lights. Let's restart the editor. Wonder if that'll work. And at the edge and just have it die off. Yeah. Let's just see if that works. That should work. You know what the thing is there's more than one dark vision. His could be like there's a racial one and another one. Let's just use the arena for now. Oh no. Too much light in the arena. Let's do Wolfpack. Let's just run it. Yeah, it's not the right color. Ran, why not? I bet you there's, yeah, but it doesn't matter the ability. It should still change. Wonder why it's not. Let's try something a little more aggressive here. Like maybe it's not using the color. I'll have to look. It should be just light. Let's try and run it again. Oh yeah, you know what I fear it is? I fear he's has his dark vision created and has it. So me changing the blueprint's not going to change his. But that is how it works. It works using it like that. The mind dungeon isn't lit. No, it isn't. That was intentional. I guess I could put some lights in it. I don't know. I kind of like the dark part aspect of it. Is it too harsh? All right. If there's no more questions, Rand, I think I'm going to call it a night, and I'm going to make some notes, touch up a few more things, and we can get back at it next time. Thanks for joining in, Rand. How are you saying that? Rand Grozel? Oh, that's Rozel. 29. Yeah, it's just as different. I see. All right. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see everyone next time. I stop streaming.